It's Sunday, it's 9 a.m. You know what that means. It's time for some final takes here on the Splash Play channel. We're going to do basically what we did yesterday, but a little bit more on top. We're going to look at projections, compare the ones from Stochastic, look at the ownership as well, see what people are expected to play on this week 6. We're just going to hop over to ETR, see what the optimal cash game lineup is according to that great data. We'll run some sims on ETR, we'll run some sims on Stochastic. And by the end of this video, you're going to know everybody who you should play according to two of the biggest sites out there, ETR and Stochastic. Let us get into here. And real fast, shout out to all you guys who did watch yesterday's Must Plays video. How to put it out on Saturday. Like I mentioned, hopefully with enough advance warning, I was going to be celebrating one of Luca's friends' birthdays, so had to unfortunately do that, or I guess not unfortunately, but had to do that on Friday. So sent out the Must Plays video yesterday. We basically got the same amount of views I normally do. So I appreciate all you guys still showing up to watch. The support goes a long way. Of course, you guys hopefully know by watching these channels, especially the NBA one, my promise to fulfill content for you guys is always the biggest, most important thing to me. So I do appreciate that support, or that promise being returned back the other way, because you never know if people are going to watch your shit when you change up timing and all that. Help my hangover with good takes. We'll see how that goes. Thank you, Paul. Good shit, Spags. Appreciate that. We got some GMs. This is my great Wolf Lodge. Yeah, this is your petri dish of child germs that you get to go in. But tell you what, some big slides, a lot of wolf, Brendan. I'll tell you what, if you are a furry, if you're a furry and a parent, I don't know if you should combine those two. But great Wolf Lodge really combines a lot of different passions. Your top projected players here. You can see that Josh Jacobs made the thumbnail. He got a projection boost here, and it makes sense given the fact that Green Bay has really one of the highest totals of the year, but in particular, the highest total of the week for themselves out of the main slate, 29.5 implied. He's your big change from yesterday's video. But besides that, we still have Christian McCaffrey up top, a 24.3 projection. Pretty big change here for McCaffrey and Puka Nacua at this point. These guys were closer to flat when we looked at the data yesterday. Now you're seeing McCaffrey pull ahead by about a fantasy point and a half. So McCaffrey looks like a more important play than he was yesterday. We're seeing like Puka was a more unfadeable play. Now, relative to these projections here, McCaffrey number one by a decent margin here. If you're a furry and a parent, I'm calling 911. I mean, I guess there are people like that online that swear, and I know this because like the Bluey subreddit, I mentioned this on stream a couple weeks ago, got overtaken by furries. I'll put up the Stochastic ad now. Talk about this. But basically, like they were like, well, there's a lot of furries that are actually really helpful, and there's stories of furries that have helped people out of sexual assaults. I can't be litigating. I got too many things to do. I can't be litigating furries, but though that would also be a great TV show, a furry lawyer, perhaps, weekly procedural kind of show. We can get into that. John Grisham, furry-based lawyer. I'm in a silly mood apparently here for Sunday morning. Puka Nacua at number 2, 22.9 fantasy points. A little bit more expensive than Christian McCaffrey. As a result here, the value a little bit better for McCaffrey. Should mean that we get McCaffrey in more lineups, accounting for Stochastic data. For our guy Mike yesterday, who was really focused on his cash gameplay, Christian McCaffrey going to look like a better cash gameplay than Puka Nacua now. Though both guys I would think should make it for a cash game. We got Puka Nacua here. Guys, at this point, I've beaten the drum basically going back to best ball season. A guy that's commanding targets at a rate nobody else in the league is. He's getting targeted 39% of the time he's running a route, which is crazy for a guy that's on the field as much as he is. So for Puka Nacua at this point, top projected player, he and McCaffrey should still be the guys that get their ways into the vast majority of lineups. With this projection on Josh Jacobs now at number 3, though, I do think he's got a good shot to also make it into a lot of lineups if you are a Stochastic user or if you just use their data on an optimizer or whatever you do for your process. Jacobs, again, high total, 29.5 implied points for Green Bay, facing a Bengals team that has not been very good. A player in Joe Flacco that I will go on record saying I don't think is, like, based on how he's played this year, an actual improvement on what Jake Browning has provided for the Bengals. Obviously, Browning has had better weapons than Flacco had for the Browns, maybe more aggressive play calling as well. So Flacco should come out a little bit more efficient than he was for the Browns, but it's still a guy who's got a 74% catchable ball rate. It's not Dylan Gabriel bad, but it's still pretty bad. Inefficient per drop back, negative 0.3 EPA per dropback's really bad. Negative 0.32 EPA per pass, the thing that Flacco's supposed to be good at, he's not actually that good at. Point being, though, Josh Jacobs should still run away with this game. Like, they're a 14.5 point favorite, a 14-point favorite at home now. Jacobs projects well. He gets 5.5 red zone opportunities a game. I don't think Flacco keeps it close is really the main point I was trying to make there. So all this checks out for me for Josh Jacobs being a strong play. That said, as we talk about every week, there are plays that are fairly obvious to the entire markets. Christian McCaffrey, PPR scam. Maybe people are a little afraid of the run defense matchup. People know Vita Vea's name, and they like to avoid that. So maybe that means that McCaffrey doesn't come in as chalky as he should. But Josh Jacobs, I think, is going to be appropriately owned. I think he'll be a player that casual players put in. I think data-wise now he is supported on that front. Jacobs makes a lot of game sense, just how the game flow should go. But obviously, Green Bay can pass. They just don't pass. They pass under expectation everywhere. Negative 5% across the entire field. Negative 6% in the red zone. Jacobs gets that work. He's a good play. A bold take here. Jonathan Taylor maybe loses some ownership this week as a result. 22 fantasy point projection for him is now lower than Josh Jacobs has. For Taylor, he's also $8,500, which is $1,200 more than Josh Jacobs. So for Jonathan Taylor, nice projection on him, but not enough to really put him as a chalky play or a super chalky play. What would make him chalky potentially is just how good he's been. Really the entire year. In fact, he just put up 30 fantasy points last week. And the fact, too, that, for Arizona, late breaking news yesterday was that Kyler Murray has some form of a Liz Frank injury in his foot, is now week to week, even though he got back into practice, was initially expected to play on Friday from some of the reports. Now he's not playing as Jacoby Brissett. That's going to only move things more in favor of Jonathan Taylor's side of the equation. So Jonathan Taylor at number 4, obviously the most live as a pivot is Christian McCaffrey, $8,400 salary compared to $8,500 for Jonathan Taylor. But really, I think it's possible that you see all 3 guys played today. That said, going to be really hard to get in all 4 guys of the top projected players, as it has been in many weeks, where you can actually do that pretty feasibly. Number 5, Baker Mayfield, only QB in the top 5 with a 3.2x value, 21 fantasy point projection. He's playing a Niners team that clearly is able to hang into games. Now gets Juwan Jennings back, still doesn't have Ricky Pearsall, but offense getting incrementally better week to week. Kittle should be back next week for them as well. Brock Purdy maybe back next week as well for the Niners. But Baker, the big thing that worries me is that Emeka Egbuka is now his only credible target out there. You still have Sterling Shepard, have Tez Johnson. You have Cade Otton, who we saw command a lot of targets last year, and I think he'd be the guy if I were to try to pivot just to get some share of this pass game and not play a really expensive Emeka Egbuka, who's running incredibly hot on touchdowns, but I don't really feel sustainable. He can sustain it theoretically because there's just so many guys not in, with Godwin out, Evans out, Bucky, who's been a key part in the pass game, out another week as well. I think for Baker, he'll probably run a little bit more because of that. The stack is really clear. It should be Egbuka and Otton as your primary guys. Rashad White, you can pair with Baker if you wanted as well. He'll get some targets, not a Bucky amount. He won't be as good as Bucky is in the pass game, even though he has been better in the run game. I'm not crazy about Baker as a play, especially with the salary. It's a lot of money to spend, and I do want to get the other better projected skill position guys. But certainly Baker, I feel like week to week, he's got 20 fantasy point, when his normal range of outcomes, and he could certainly get to 30 or so if things break the right way. Judkins is not going to be this high. Judkins is going to be much lower. Judkins has played well, but he's another guy, I think, kind of rounding into what he was more in college, not missing as many tackles. He's still been good, but a 14.1 fantasy point projection, a much worse play on paper than a Rashad White, a Rico Dowdle. So you can play Judkins as a pivot if you want, but he, again, the primary plays here are the guys that project the best and have the best value metrics. Let's sort by value. Speaking of, your top value right now, Spencer Rattler moved ahead of Trevor Lawrence. That's nice to see. Rattler, I've said on stream, it feels like he should play better, or he should get better results than he's been getting with how he's been playing. And that's something where, sometimes it never really materializes. But Rattler's got an 85% catchable ball rate, a lot of checkdowns, 6.5 air yards per attempt is one of the lower marks in the league. But he's avoiding pressure fairly well. When he does get pressure, playing well through it, only negative 0.37 EPA, which is not as bad as it sounds. The big thing is he's just not connecting for touchdowns, not creating a lot of EPA. He's just a flat 0 EPA per dropback and a negative 0.06 EPA per pass. In this matchup versus New England, who does struggle versus the pass game, also particularly struggles downfield, Rattler could get going. I think the tough part for me is that I've played Rattler a few times. I played Rattler against Buffalo, and he hung in that game pretty well. I just don't know that he ever comes through. But I think in this matchup, 21.3 implied points. Kamara, a little banged up. Trade rumors still floating around with him, even though apparently he doesn't want to move. Kendre Miller's role growing week to week. Maybe this is the week you play the pass game and get it right. I just don't love that Taysom Hill was back in last week and taking some QB snaps. That sort of decreases the upside a little bit. But I just strongly believe that Rattler is capable of hitting. I just don't. I just don't know that it actually happens. So plant that as like the softest flag in favor of Rattler for me. But that's basically it. Jatavian Sanders doubtful. That sucks for best ball, but what are we going to do? Weird to think to swap out the big chalk for more well projected, lesser chalk, i.e. JSN, Igbuka, Genti for CMC Puka. I don't think it's weird. No, I mean, you got to remember though, like at that point, you're playing chalky everything else. Like you take a couple pivots, but like you don't want to deviate that much when you're fading the two highest projected players in the slate. But yeah, you could certainly a credible way to go. You'll be away from a large portion of the field. But again, just the same thing. And Robert Griff III knows this better than most people, but I try to say it every video as a reminder for myself as much as you guys. Like the reason players become chalk is because they're the best players in the slate. And now with the data we have, the Sims tools we have, the ubiquity of all that stuff, your chalk plays are better than they've ever been. So game theory wise, you still want to be mindful of fading chalk plays. Your Saquon Barkley on Thursday Night Football was one I think people should have thought about fading more. And frankly, myself too, I should have put that more across in the content. But like that's sort of the point is that in a single game, high variance situation, yeah, you do a little more fading of the best projected plays. On a main slate, you still need to be mindful of like keeping that projection close enough. And and if you're playing guys that still project well, that's great. But if you're playing guys where you're getting like low owned and losing a lot of projection, that's sort of the double whammy that kills a lot of lineups, and that's something I'm being mindful of. It's been great for my results this year. Should not play shitty. It sounds stupid, but to not play as many shitty lineups. You do DFS content long enough, everybody becomes Jordan Cooper. It's like play the best plays. But in reality, it's more to me like don't play the least good plays. Is really. If I'm going to steal his shit and make it worse, don't play like the guys where it's like, I have to squint for it. You don't hit Ryan Flournoy that often, as I talked about yesterday. Trevor Lawrence at number 2, 3.6x value rounding up, so a little bit lower than Spencer Rattler. I think the massive rushing performance for Trevor Lawrence and the fact it's a pick'em game between Jacksonville and Seattle, and also, frankly, a line, too, that started at 44, over-under, now it's at 47.5. So some cosign there in the game, getting some production going. For Trevor Lawrence, though, not a player I'm super stoked to go back to. I think if you're going to play him, you want to play him as a stack. I just think the rushing stuff is not there every week. Feel like that was a little fluky, how he pulled production away from the actual run game from his receivers last week. With his running, that's just kind of not who he is. And I think people will view that game against KC and go like, oh, well, he's turned a corner and this is what he's going to play moving forward. Just not sure I buy that, given the fact he was running 2 times a game before last week. So for Trevor Lawrence, I'm cool not having as much of him. But, certainly he is well projected at 5,100. A little bit too cheap for a guy who just did have probably one of the better games of his fantasy career on Monday night. Bryce Young, 16.5 fantasy points here. Pristine matchup versus Dallas, one of the worst secondaries in football, though we have a few of those on the slate today. Nice price tag for Bryce Young, clean target tree, especially with Sanders out now, too. That's another guy that maybe would take some end zone equity away. You want to go Tet McMillan. Coker not being available this week, too, kind of helps out that it's McMillan. You can play Rico with a Bryce Young stack, I think, though the bigger value might be going Bryce Young as a stack and fading Rico and fading the run game after he went nuts last week. But I think you can do both ways. If you're doing a 20 max, play on both sides of the equation if you want to attack that game. But Bryce Young to Tet McMillan, easy. McMillan's price tag is a little bit more expensive, but you're paying less for Bryce Young. This actually, Andrew, I was going to say this exact fucking sentence. Why isn't Bryce running this year? I agree. The fact that he's running under 2 times a game is insane because, last year, part of how he improved a lot down the stretch was, threatening with the run at the very least. He's not doing that so much this year. Unfortunately, he should. But frankly, if Rico runs hot like he did last week, and I think he's capable of, he ran, frankly, all of the end of last year for Dallas, that takes a lot of pressure off Bryce, and maybe he'll run a little bit. Maybe they set up some RPO stuff off of that, I would hope. Drake May at number 4. As I've said enough times, I'm not a big Drake May guy, though the numbers at this point back it out. Still think he's a little bit of a paper tiger. He gets decent results, but there's stuff that I'm not ready to buy in on for Drake May. It's mental block, whatever you want to call it, but I really think it's more that I think there's a precipitous downside still to him, even though a lot of that's been coached out this year to the credit of the coaching staff and of Drake May himself. But he doesn't run as much as he should. He also just doesn't get the opportunities to throw it downfield as much with only 6.7 air yards per attempt. But he's running 4.8 times per game. That's okay. 1.2 of which are inside the red zone. It's okay. The issue I have with Drake May is he could be so much more, but they're winning games, whatever. So for Drake May, you could go to him again. And certainly this New England game environment might be a little sneaky. You're not getting a crazy amount of play volume on the New England side, only 60 plays per game for them, but 67 for New Orleans side. It can open up. I think it can open up here. 2 defenses that aren't too great, in particular New England, not good in the secondary, good at defending the run. I think the game has a shot at shooting out here. Maybe sneaky game. It's a game stack a little bit of today. Your number 5 value, last but not least in the value metrics, no real values coming up here. Rico Dowdle, your highest non-QB. Josh Jacobs, number 2. Javonte Williams, really not a lot of actual values on the slate. But Jacoby Brissett at 4,200, vaguely interesting because of that price tag. You also have 2 really viable pass catchers stacked along with him if you go Marvin Harrison, if you go to Trey McBride. And the run game, depreciated enough, even though Michael Carter got decent results last week. And perhaps consolidated workload because of DeMercado having the massive fuck-up. Yeah, Michael Carter, more of a credible play than I felt like he would have been last week. But I still think that for Jacoby Brissett, not an exciting play. Team total's only at 18.5. But going with Brissett to McBride, it's not an expensive stack. There's big upside to it. McBride plus Harrison, if the pass game really goes nuts, because Indianapolis probably will be able to put up points fairly easily on a bad Arizona defense, there's ways Brissett can pay off. How the fuck am I not a... Oh, there you go. Yes, Sammy, please figure it out. And I meant to click this one. Good morning, Squirter. Sending love. Appreciate our guy, Sammy. Appreciate all you guys. And please do send some love. Hit that like button. Subscribe here. Again, I appreciate the community we're building. Appreciate all you guys tuning in at this point. Obviously, hopefully the work shows here. The amount of prep I do shows through. But I do these streams because I believe a lot in giving people good football information. I don't know if there's enough of it out there. And hopefully I do my part as best I can. It was really nice to hear some of the chats from you guys yesterday. Some kind words. But also good to see you guys watching the video when I have to do it with 24 hours less time of evergreen time, which if you learn anything about YouTube, guys, we want videos to be as evergreen as possible. I do the exact opposite. I build videos that have no shelf life because that's the only shit I care about. So here we go. Like, subscribe, give a foot massage. That's it. I really don't like people touching my feet that much. Not even close to the same amount of good running back plays this Sunday compared to last Sunday. There's good plays, they're just more expensive. So I think McCaffrey is a very good play. I think Josh Jacobs is a very good play. I think that Rico and Rachaad White, relative to projections and salary, very good plays. I think Javonte is still a pretty good play, though I think he's the one I'm willing to move away from the most out of the group. But he's been good. I think there's a credible top 5. We're going to see them all in ownership right here. Your number 1 expected own guy, Stochastic updated 14 minutes ago, so pretty hot off the presses. Puka Nacua still expected for 31% ownership. Kind of thought that would fall a little bit based on the fact that Stochastic now is McCaffrey higher projected and a little bit cheaper, but you have more good running back plays than you do wide receiver plays, so that's probably a part of it. Puka Nacua, 31% ownership. He's worth it. I would find it hard to play less than 31% of him. To me, if he's in half my lineups, I'm cool with it. McCaffrey, I unfortunately feel the same way. I'd say that for McCaffrey at this point, a player that I think I'm underappreciating. Just the workload is so strong. You do get Juwan Jennings back in. That theoretically upsets the target tree a little bit, just because that's another guy to throw the ball to. But McCaffrey's getting targeted 32% of the time he's running a route. When he's played, Juwan Jennings is only at 22. McCaffrey just has too good of a role, 28.6 attempted touches. The numbers you guys probably know offhand. I think for McCaffrey, you'll see him get even more check down work. I guess I could point to the one thing that Tampa Bay does do well in terms of pass defense is they limit RB targets, only a 13.4% rate, which is towards the lower percentiles of the league. But they've been really inefficient with it, giving up a 0.6 EPA on them. So I would think the fact that the Niners just force feed targets to McCaffrey is a more important thing. Combined with Tampa Bay's inefficiency. If you're going to defend the run, you're probably not going to defend running back passes that well. So I think for McCaffrey, he'll get there, especially on DraftKings. FanDuel, I think you move away a little bit more because you run the risk that he just has no effectiveness in the run game. But the thing is, he's been ineffective in the run game all year anyway, so I don't know that it matters that they are in a tough run defense matchup. Curious with Trayvion's ownership. I think you guys got to give up the ghost on Trayvion a little. I know there's going to be more work because of the fact that you have Antonio Gibson out, but he's not playing that well. He doesn't have an apostrophe, right? I'll look it up for you. 1.9% ownership, not a great projection. I know at a certain point you expect him to beat out Ramondre, but Ramondre fumbles in game. They don't take the roll away. So I just don't, again, I don't think these are the kind of plays you need to make in DFS week to week right now. I strongly believe that. I think there's enough quality, well-projected plays you could focus on guys that are not Trayvon Henderson. If he hits for you in best ball. That's great. That's why you play best ball, I think. CMC's a PPR slut. He is in the best possible way. He is slutting it up. Kitty, no. I don't know what that's about. She just wake herself up? There's nobody in the house. Alex and Luke are at swim lessons, so I don't know what the fuck the dog's barking about. She's barking for Christian McCaffrey. Javonte Williams at number 3, 29% ownership for Javonte. I'm surprised to see that be that high. People did not play Javonte last week. All right, good. I'm glad you're on the same page, you Hames, because I know you are an underdog guy too. And I feel like the underdog guys have the hardest time giving up the ghost on Travion. When Ramondre goes down, now it's like, okay, cool, that's wheels up. But this team is like actively showing they won't move away from Ramondre, which was my thesis on the play the entire time. But, whatever. It's not like Ramondre's been good. Anyway, Javonte, I don't think so. People didn't play Javonte, but it was really logical to play him last week versus the Jets. Gave you direct leverage on sort of what that game script was going to be. Some of my best lineups last week had Javonte, and I was like playing the shit out of the passing game in that one. So I still got there for myself. I don't think he gets 29% played. I also don't think that Javonte and Rico get played together. Still think that that's an old school DFS mindset that you probably should have to not play two running backs in the same game, especially when they're going to come up a lot and be highly owned. Like at that point, just try to take one running back out of Javonte and Rico Dowdle. This seems like a lot of ownership for Javonte. I'm not quite buying it, especially if they think Jacobs is going to be at 28. But this is like so much running back ownership consolidated that you can make the case to just play the field and see how it does. Like, again, you don't want to ignore projections, but if you were to fade McCaffrey, Javonte, Rico, Josh Jacobs, Rachaad White, I mean, we're talking about a combined 60, 89, let's say, 117, 132 or so percent ownership combined between some ownership between these running backs. It's a lot of ownership. Like I if you like Quinshon Judkins, fucking play a lineup that has that. But I also think guys like Kyron, like you fade the running backs and you get Kyron right, you might get paid out double because you are then getting some leverage against Puka or hitting that stack with Puka and Kyron. Just something to think about here because you never really see ownership be like this for 5 running backs together. Again, McCaffrey, Javonte, Rico Dowdle, Josh Jacobs, Rachaad White, all 25 out of 30% projected. And maybe one of them comes in a little bit lower. Like I think Javonte can come in a little bit lower. I think Rachaad White can come in a little bit lower. Jacobs too, maybe a little, but that's concentrated ownership for sure. Do I think McConkey is a riser with their injuries? I think McConkey's a riser because of Quentin Johnston likely not playing. That's going to help him. I think that makes the Herbert, and I have not seen Herbert talked about as much this week. I think the Herbert, Keenan Allen, Lad McConkey group is like a really strong one. So I personally feel that's a good approach to have is do some charger stack this week because you're never going to have a week where like it's this consolidated as it is with Quentin Johnson probably not going to play. 5% A chance seems like it could happen. Yes, and he also failed to chalk last week, so double whammy there. Besides the RBs, you also actually Jonathan Taylor still 20% ownership expected for him too. So add another 20% onto that math we did off the top of the head. By the way, I think I got the numbers right. So a pat on the back for me doing math on my head. JSN, 25% expected. Lad McConkey, 19% expected. So a little bit of an uptick here because of the fact that you're not expected to have Quentin Johnston. Chris Olave, his projection, his expected fantasy points still should hit at some point. He's coming at 14% expected ownership. Just kind of skimming through here. Jaylen Warren, one of those guys, similar price points to some others. People won't want to play the matchup versus Cleveland. He also has Gainwell, theoretically earning more of a role, but he's certainly a pivot kind of guy. Anyway, I'm just showing you guys the whole thing here, but pick who you want. Aronde Gadsden. I know you guys are guy Chunk, big fan of him. He's at 2.4%. Let's go to ETR next, guys. Let's build some lineups. Let me give a refresh to make sure we got the latest data in because you never know. And let's check. All right, the projections. Let's make sure that we got the same projection in here. All right. 2, 3. Oh, no, hold on. 2, 3. 139. Okay. So you have to adjust 2 projections to build the cash game lineup. But let me go back to defaults. Oh, fuck, that it changes the projections again. Fuck my life. All right. Hold on. Sorry, guys. This having to change 2 projections every time thing throws me off just enough on stream. But we're going to build some cash game lineups using ETR data, see what Mike Leone and the gang think. And really, to me, the reason I do this process, number one, this allows me to use an optimizer, which is part of my process normally anyway. Love the stochastic sims, but I personally like having a little more control with an optimizer, being able to build lineups, lock guys, remove guys, see what gets built. But for ETR, the big thing is a large portion of the field uses ETR projections. Large portion of the field uses stochastic. There's some amount out there that still uses RotoGrind or SaberSim. I can't look at everything, but if you were to do a similar process for yourself, know what the field's playing, know what the providers are giving people, understand what the overlap is, because that's really where chalk will concentrate even more. But that would be my suggestion for a lot of you guys out there, and that's why we do this way here on the stream, in case you've ever been curious. The solver, though, here, ETR's product, has as its optimal cash game lineup with those ETR projections. Trevor Lawrence, Javonte Williams, Rico Dowdle, 2 RBs in the same game again as your cash game play. And it seems like actually now 100% of lineups have them. So right away, if I were building ETR lineups, I think just max 1 of Javonte and Rico. Both RBs can't hit the same game. It's literally been a thing in Best Ball, Best Ball Mania finals a couple years ago, where it was Jerome Ford and Breece Hall both hitting in the same low total, not great game script, Jets-Browns game. It can happen, but for DFS, you're trying to kind of get to more of the larger band of lineups to give you a shot to win week to week. Usually playing 2 RBs in the same game, not a good thing. And if people are going to do it naturally based off projections, I would just try not to do it overall. Trevor Lawrence, and if that hits, fuck me, but like it's the fucking cash game, so you shouldn't play these. You likely shouldn't play this RB grouping anyway. But Javonte, Rico Dowdle, Puka Nacua makes it, JSN makes it, Chris Olave makes it. It's like the greatest hits of all the projection sites out there with Puka, JSN, and Olave. Michael Mayer makes it, which ETR does seem to like more than Stochastic does. Rashad White makes it, again, seems like good chalk on the week. I think, though, he's going to be one of the more forgotten guys. I don't know if people like that matchup for, him going against the Niners. I don't know if they buy that he was actually good last week or will be sustainably good moving forward. But the fact that he was able to get there versus Seattle, I think Rashad White can get there versus the Niners. And at home, too. And Dolphins D makes it as well. So overall in these top 25 lineups, oh shit, man. So this is like really concentrated chalk for ETR. Rico Dowdle in every lineup, Javonte Williams in every lineup, Puka Nacua in every lineup, Rashad White in every lineup. So cash game friends out there, these 4 guys, I think these are the ones you play right now. Would say, though, putting max 3 out of 4 if you're building in ETR in particular, max 2 out of 4 if you want to cut away from the field more. Just if you're playing ETR generated lineups, these guys are going to get into projection sets a lot more naturally because of the fact that they project so well. They're basically unfadable in a set of the top 25 projected lineups. So for ETR users today, just be mindful of the fact that those guys are going to come up a lot for everybody else who is playing with ETR data. But now let's put on some boosts for the main slate here because we want to increase our correlation. The top 1% of lineups have more game stacks, more onslaughts than people play. So we just want to play against that largest band of potentially good lineups. And we have boosts for our QB with our receivers, obviously a 25% boost. And then our RBs, 17.5%. And our bringbacks, also 17.5%. We're going to build 250 here. Do we bet on that LAC backfield with QJ now out? It's hard. Like, you're talking about guys that don't have very much juice with Vidal and with Hassan Haskins. Haskins, the biggest thing he has going for him is he is a power back. He's also a guy that does occasionally get a target, though has only been targeted 7% of the time. He's running a route compared. Hey, there's the stream bots. There we go. Now I know I've made it. He's been in a spot basically where he's getting targeted half as much as Kamani Vidal does running a route, but he gets the occasional target, so maybe he gives you a PPR point or two. I just don't like the price tag for him at 5K. The fact Vidal is also 5K. If they were 4K, you could talk me into giving the shot because I just think that the talent's not super high. But look, it's a soft matchup. Miami's bad at everything. So realistically, the pass game does seem like it's getting chalkier, especially with the projections moving away from Quentin Johnson with him likely to be out. The way to get leverage on that would be to play Haskins or Vidal. I just there's so many better RB plays in the slate, so that's pretty tough. Do it for you, Mike. That's why I'm doing cash games, just for you. But I think the cash game stuff, even though I don't love to play cash games, I only play 1 a week with some of my friends from high school, and I'm just abusing my life. I'm undefeated in it. So I think it also speaks to how good projections are and just what middle outcomes are for the field now. But like for cash game stuff, it's important to know what a cash game lineup is because number one, you want to be mindful to not play that in large field tournaments. But number two, that cash game lineup is like the foundation of everything that lineups get built off of that are good lineups, in a tournament. So large field, small field. If you're playing smaller field, you want to play closer to that optimal. If you're playing large field, obviously you could take some more big swings. All right, so they still have not ETR, by the way, I feel like if you're going to say, and again, I love to be, this is why I like doing this show, is I can just call things as they are. If you're going to say that you're going to put out like sims for real fields and like the actual tournaments people play, you're going to do it next week, or you're going to do it at all in the NFL season, get it for week 1, but like have it by week 6. Like the fact that it's all like the secondary tournaments drives me fucking nuts every week. We'll sim in the mini max again because it has the most entries for a 150 max tournament. I would just like to have the play action, the milli maker. And I think that's one thing Stochastic does better with its sims, even though your mileage may vary with any sims, obviously, but I just want representative fields. That's all I want. It's the biggest, most important part of sims. Like I have to trust projection sets. I understand that part of it, but at least give me a representative field. Anyway, dorky complaints, but a complaint nonetheless. We got Trevor Lawrence here. Number 1 ROI lineup. Lawrence, Achane, Javonte Williams, Tet McMillan makes it in. And yes, I am going to keep calling him Tet. I don't care. He doesn't call me anything. I don't have to call him what his mom calls him. It's also not Tetaroya, by the way, to all the content creators out there. It's Tetaroa. Tetaroa. It's not, the I is not after the R. If we're gonna do him the respect of saying his name, fucking let's say it the right way. And it's everybody, by the way. Tetaroa McMillan, aka Tet. Brian Thomas, JSN, Hunter Long. So you're getting the double stack here. Hunter Long filling in for Brenton Strange, has been targeted fairly well at a rate approximately the same as Brenton Strange. So the hope here is that he just becomes Brenton Strange at 2,500. I think he's a viable play, especially for cash. Rashad White, your flex here, Titans D in this lineup as well. So a Trevor Lawrence double, still chalky RBs, but Achane makes it in. And for what it's worth, ETR really pushed Achane hard last week. And they're going back to it again after he did bust his chalk. Always good to buy after a player does bust his chalk. Sam Darnold double stack in this one. Sam Darnold at number 2 with Travis Etienne, Rashad White, Puka Nacua, JSN makes it, Cooper Kupp makes it. So this was the thing we saw yesterday with ETR. It's the case again. They like some JSN Cooper Kupp stuff. So does Stochastic, actually. Michael Mayer, Brian Thomas, Browns D. Okay. Number 3, Bryce Young double stack here with Rico and Tet McMillan. So we're taking a chalky Rico, fairly chalky Tet, making it less chalky by making it a stack. So Rico, Bryce Young, we got Javonte Williams, Puka Nacua, JSN, Tet McMillan, Hunter Long, Rashad White Dolphins. This Hunter Long, Rashad White Dolphins coming up a lot for these ETR top lineups. Number 4 is Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold double stack again. Javonte Williams makes it. Rico Dowdle makes it. Chris Olave makes it. JSN, Cooper Kupp, Trey McBride, Emeka Egbuka, and Saints D going against Drake May. Okay, that's kind of fun. And then Drake May makes it at number 5. Drake May double. Drake May with Javonte Williams, Ashton Genty, Jalen Waddle, Stephon Diggs, Chris Olave, Hunter Henry, Rashad White, Raiders D. It seems like these sims really putting a lot of Javonte up top. I feel like we only faded Javonte in 1 out of the top 5. Yeah. So ETR sims, Javonte chalk play, and they like him a very good amount. Overall, your highest ROI players, Diami Brown is barely played, but he's a 52% ROI. Cowboys D barely played, but a 36% ROI. You're probably getting some pretty good leverage on, on a team in Carolina that's not super talented, but we're going to play today like they are good. Sam Darnold, 35% ROI at 10% exposure, so he's being played a good amount, keeps that high ROI. Trevor Lawrence, a 34% ROI on 9% exposure, and Drake May, a 34% ROI on 4% exposure. We know Stochastic liked Darnold a lot yesterday. We'll see if that's the case again today. But Darnold might be the most popular sim QB of the week. Let's go over to Stochastic next. I feel like we're making good time today. Thought I was going too long on the projections and ownership, but here we are. We'll have plenty of time to look at stacks and stuff too. So if you have QB stacks you want to see in the sim, you can drop them. You start to drop them in now, and I'll make sure to hit them all. And guys, if you can, show some love. Number 1, hit the like button, subscribe. Goes a long way for me here. Just one guy showing you my gambling every week in the NFL. Do the best I can, again, to prepare for myself and the slates that I want to play, which are usually the Monday and Thursday showdown slates, Sunday main slates, of course. NBA, they'll be going every day as well. There's going to be a lot of content coming up for me in the next fucking forever. So please join the load here. Join the load. Join all the sperm in the load and hit the like. Hit the like button, subscribe. I should not say join the load. I hope I never say join the load again. Is it safe to say it's safe to play the Rams? It looks like that game will be a washout. Vegas totals matter more than weather. Vegas totals matter a lot more than weather. The rain can clear. I would not fret about that too much. Though the total did move a little bit down, I believe, so that's part of why Puka Nakua's projection came down if I had to guess. But again, it's all accounted for in the process we use when you're using data, when you're using Vegas totals, so don't double count it. To be clear, I did not say catch my load. I said join the load. Can't wait for NBA. Me too. Me too. I feel like I unfortunately made a lot of great projection strides at the end of the season where I found a way to, where I created a way to not have the guys like take downside rates, only take upside rates, and was doing really well in the home stretch. Then the playoffs kind of petered out a little bit, but I want to get back to the regular season because I think like my projection is going to do really well. But this year, I think I might be unsponsored for NBA because I just haven't tried to find a new deal. I know they got Abated's paying creators this year to do NBA stuff. So I'm going to be able to do the video earlier, which will be a positive for me. Nobody got Quentin Grimes more right than me. Nobody got it more right than me. That's true. I did not say fill me up with your load. Fill me up with your load of love. And hit the like and subscribe. Also, check out the data and tools, guys. I didn't plug the solver at all, but solver link down below. You want to build lineups, the guy just did. Do it with that promo code SPLASH over at the solver, or click the link in the description. And of course, Stochastic 15% off as well. The best way to support the show is to join it, but also to join Stochastic. Half the money you pay to Stochastic for any of the deals, it's all 15% off in perpetuity as well, not just the first deal. So it's a kind of nice way that works out for you guys. But use the promo code SPLASH on there. All the cheap data and tools, all the expensive data and tools, it's 15% off, and it does really meaningfully support the show. So please do check it out. All right, your top ROI lineups according to Stochastic. Again, not the highest ROIs this week. They're also towards the 146% range, but okay. That's right. I got Quentin Grimes right, except on March 25th. The one day that I didn't get him right. And the guy was like, "Are you getting Quentin Grimes wrong all the time?" I was fucking him and Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges is not a great guy, but man, I got his ass projected well a lot of times when nobody else did. NBA, catch the fever. Spencer Rattler. Honestly, I enjoy projections as much as the actual games. Spencer Rattler, your number one ROI player here. So people asking about Saint stuff, you're getting it here. Rattler double with Rico Dowdle, Josh Jacobs, JSN. DK Metcalf makes this one. Have not heard his name said once this entire week, and have not seen him come up in data, and he comes up here. Chris Olave, Juwan Johnson, Christian McCaffrey, Dolphins D. Number 2, we have Sam Darnold, Travis Etienne, Rashad White, JSN, Keenan Allen, Cooper Kupp, Tucker Kraft. Another name I feel like has not come up very much, but certainly there's room for the pass game to get there. And Tucker Kraft doesn't have to share a receiver workload with a million other dudes, so that's a positive for him. Josh Jacobs, Buccaneers, double stack with a bring back for Seattle in that one. Darnold again, so Stochastic still loving the Sam Darnold stacks and all the Sam Darnold shit. Darnold, Jalen Warren, Kyron Williams, JSN, Ladd McConkey, Cooper Kupp, Jake Ferguson, Josh Jacobs, Saints D. And number 5 is Sam Darnold again, or number 4 rather, Sam Darnold again, Josh Jacobs again, Rashad White again, Puka Nacua, JSN again, Cooper Kupp again, Juwan Johnson again, Tucker Kraft again, Titans D. Your number 5 ROI lineup, a Carolina triple with a bring back. Bryce Young, Rico Dowdle, Javonte Williams, Puka Nacua, Tet McMillan, Tetaroa McMillan, Juwan Jennings, Tommy Tremble, Josh Jacobs, Steelers. All right, so you're getting Rico and Tet. You're tacking on Tommy Tremble to come along for the ride, sure. Lot of chalk around that. Steelers D, Dylan Gabriel has been the worst QB in football, so certainly a room to produce there. I like that lineup a lot. Honestly, out of this top 5, that might be my favorite. If this one didn't have DK Metcalf for like no reason, I would have also liked that one a little bit more. All right, player ROIs. We got Spencer Rattler, 4% positive ROI. He's the only ROI positive player on the slate, or only positive ROI player on the slate. Everybody else is negative. But your least negative ROI guys after Rattler, Rashad White, Dolphins D, Juwan Johnson. I actually haven't looked up Juwan Johnson's snap count last week. Juwan Johnson, 56 snaps last week. Played 60 the week before that, 66 before that. So we lost a little bit, but not as much as I've had in my head. Foster Moreau played 23 snaps. That is a lot. Taysom Hill played 9 snaps. That's not a lot. Look, I think Juwan Johnson loses a little bit from Moreau and Taysom Hill, but Sims supporting him here. He's still been well targeted. You can still play him, I guess. Rico Dowdle, your number 5. Highest ROI guy. Still negative, but still the highest directional accurate ROI. Stack ROIs. Your only positive QB +1 or only positive ROI for QB +1 is Rattler here. So Rattler, 3.6% ROI for him. Everybody else negative, but Drake May, Trevor Lawrence, Daniel Jones, and Bryce Young have the least negative ROIs for a single stack. For a double stack, you have Spencer Rattler with 13% ROI, Bryce Young for 9. Drake May is number 3 with -1, then Justin Herbert and Daniel Jones in the negative numbers, but Rattler again, positive ROI. And a triple stack, your highest ROI triple stack is also Rattler, 15% ROI, Bryce Young at 8, Mac Jones, -5. Baker Mayfield, -6. Dak Prescott, -10. God, I can't believe I really feel like I've taken the Rattler bait a few too many times. But if he's coming up data-wise, I don't think you guys are dying to play Rattler. I don't think the field's going to be dying to play Rattler. I mean, I think Rattler plus Olave plus Shaheed is also possible. But yeah, certainly Rattler plus Shaheed would get you leverage and all the Olave ownership that's going to come up. But Olave's just so due for a good game. Like, we've at least seen Shaheed have one. Olave is, I think, due for one outlier with the usage he's had, the expected fantasy points he's had. But, whatever. All right. We got... Oh, see, this is the weird spam where they do like this shit. Like, what the fuck is screen variety? No, just use Stream East, guys. If you want to use piracy, use free piracy. There's enough of it out there. But there we go. It's like, I thought that was a legit chat, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, wait a minute, screen variety? That's just spam. Fuck you, screen variety. We got that guy's a bot. He doesn't know. He's not a real person. But nevertheless, fuck the screen variety spam. Josh Jacobs, your number 1 exposed player, according to Stochastic, they're top 150. 65% ROI, Fields at 29. So Josh Jacobs coming up more than, about 3x the field here. 35% leverage. Rachaad White in 55% of lineups. So once again, Stochastic thinks that Rachaad White, one of the better RB plays amidst this group. It does seem like the core for RB here for Stochastic will be Josh Jacobs, Rachaad White, Rico Dowdle, Javonte Williams. These guys are all going to be appreciably above the field. So that's crazy. It's so much ownership, like, pooled together at RB this week, and frankly, a way that I don't think we've seen on stream before. Doing these shows now for, this is like, I think the 3rd year, doing at least some version of these shows every week. That's a lot of concentrated ownership. The sim is saying get more. But Rico Dowdle at 45%, Rachaad White at 55%, Jacobs at 65%, Javonte at 40%. These guys are all above the field by an appreciable amount. In Stochastic's top 150 ROI lineups. JSN is at number 5 here, 36% exposure, Fields at 24. So JSN, a good chalk yet again for Stochastic. McCaffrey, you're playing under the field here, 31% exposure, Fields at 32. Puka might be like a straight fade. Puka, you're only playing 13% of, Fields at 30. Damn. What about Jonathan Taylor, the other chalk guy? And you're fading Jonathan Taylor as well, only 5% exposure, Fields at 21. Some real stands for Stochastic today, at least with their data. Highest leverage guys, Josh Jacobs, 35% more in the field is what Stochastic wants you to get in their top 150. Rachaad White, 29% more in the field. Rico Dowdle, 18% more in the field. Ted McMillan, 16% more in the field. You're basically doubling the field's expected 15.8% exposure. And Keenan Allen, 15% more in the field. My boy, my free boy in best ball, $5,600 salary. Ladd McConkey looks like he'll be higher owned. So playing Keenan Allen a little bit cheaper and a little bit less ownership. Sure. All right. Biggest fades for Stochastic. This should be noteworthy. Puka Nacua, -18% leverage. Stochastic only has him played in 13% of the top 150 lineups. Fields at 30. So we are taking, look, there's always more variance at wide receiver than RB. It seems like they're saying play the well-projected RBs, worry less about the well-projected wide receiver. Jonathan Taylor, -17% leverage. Basically a pretty big fade on Taylor. Only 5% of the top 150 lineups have him. Fields going to play him 21% of the time. Ashton Genty, big fade on him, -12% leverage. Only 1% of the top 150 lineups have him. Field is at 13. Emeka Egbuka, -12% leverage. Stochastic has 9% exposure. Fields at 20. And Devon Achane, -11% leverage on him. Not going back after his bad week last week. He's really expensive at 7,800. But 2% exposure. Fields at 12.5. So pretty big fades. Also fading Trey McBride, fading Baker Mayfield, fading Packers D. All right, other than Josh Jacobs is live, who else is live to reach pay dirt twice today? McCaffrey always, though. He hasn't gotten there in the run game. I would say almost definitely due to get there in the run game at some point. Kyron, not a bad pick. It's just whoever has the most red zone equity. So that would be my choices. All right, let's look up some QBs here. Somebody wanted to see a Baker overstack. All right, we got Daniel Jones requests as well. All right, I see Daniel Jones. Let's go Daniel Jones. QB. You got Daniel Jones, Josh Jacobs, Javonte Williams, Ted McMillan, Keenan Allen. Double stack for Daniel Jones with Pittman, Tyler Warren, Rachaad White, Saints D. Not a big Daniel Jones stack guy, but it does seem like he had a lot of good chalk with well-projected receivers, so that's a very nice lineup, even for me as somebody that's not like a big fan of the Colts stack and has not played it very often this year. Number 2 is a single stack with Daniel Jones, Javonte Williams, Rico Dowdle, JSN, Jacoby Myers, Chris Olave, Tyler Warren, Rachaad White, Saints. Number 3, Daniel Jones, Christian McCaffrey, Javonte Williams, Keenan Allen, Michael Pittman, Juwan Jennings, Tyler Warren, Rachaad White, and Browns. So Pittman and Warren seem to be really the stack partners. You can't really pin down Josh Downs' workload or Alec Pierce's, so I think that's logical. Somebody had asked about Baker, so I'm just going to look up Baker. I can't find the chat, though. Baker here. Baker, who the Sims did not like very much, but you're still getting some here. Baker with Kyron, Rico Dowdle, Emeka Egbuka, Ted McMillan, Keenan Allen, Cade Otton, so you get the double, actually a triple stack. Cade Otton, Rachaad White. And also Bucks D. I don't think there's a Bucks beatdown coming. I would not play the Bucks D with that. Number 2 is a double stack for Baker with a bring back. Baker, Kyron again, Rachaad White again, JSN. George Pickens makes this one. Stephon Diggs makes this one. Cade Otton makes it again. Juwan Jennings coming up in some of these lineups. And I guess that's the bring back, though. And Seahawks D makes it. Okay. I just don't think you shoot out if the Bucks D gets there somehow. That doesn't seem the most logical. And Mac Jones hasn't been particularly mistake prone. So the first one, I don't know. I don't really get why it sims well, but whatever. All right, we got number 3, Baker Mayfield, Javonte Williams, Rico Dowdle, Emeka Egbuka, Devontae Adams, Juwan Jennings, Hunter Henry, Rachaad White, Dolphins D. So another double with a bring back. Juwan Jennings is the bring back here. I mean, frankly, if Kendrick Bourne goes nuts again, or if Jake Tongas, those guys are just not getting played this week, it looks like. All right, we got a request for Stafford here. I'll read this as a request for Stafford. Not coming up at all in Stochastic's top 150, even though Puka's a top projected guy. So that does feel a little bit inefficient in terms of ownership. Matthew Stafford here with Javonte Williams, Rico Dowdle. Puka makes this one, obviously. Devontae Adams makes this one, too. At this point, for Matthew Stafford to hit an elevating price tag, he probably doesn't need both guys to make it. Ladd McConkey, Tucker Kraft, Tez Johnson. Somebody asked about Tez Johnson yesterday. He's making this lineup. And Titans D. You're spending a lot of money, so you got to find a cheap guy. Tez Johnson seems to be that cheap guy today, for these Sims in particular. Number 2, we have Stafford, Josh Jacobs, Kyron Williams makes this one. Puka makes this one. Devontae Adams. Feels like all 3 of those guys making it would have to be like a batshit game for Stafford. I don't think that's possible. But Tez Johnson makes it again. Michael Mayer as a cheap guy makes it. Rachaad White, Dolphins D. And number 3, Matthew Stafford, Rachaad White, Rico Dowdle, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Chris Olave, Tyler Warren, David Njoku, double tight end, Bucks D. And I'll look up Dak too, because why not? Looking at splits that small is not necessarily the most smart thing to do. You want to like isolate it more towards zone or man. And frankly, I'll pull up those numbers for you and I will tell you if I agree with that take, because I think that sounds like something you heard somewhere, Jake, and are now repeating. And it might have been said by somebody that's not rooting that in the best data process. I don't know. Maybe it's Reeves and somebody's good. But let's see. All right. So cover 4 and cover 6. Emeka Egbuka has been way too efficient versus zone. Like, he's had a 1.4 EPA versus zone compared to a 0.1 EPA versus man. Like, those numbers do find their depth a certain point. So targeting the zone splits, and I'll give you credit, Jake, the zone splits are there. But it's so high that it has to come down, like especially for zone defense. And you got to keep in mind too, like when has he scored some of his like 60-yard contested catch touchdowns? It's been versus zone. I don't think that's the right way to approach that. You want to play Egbuka, play him because there are no receivers left for the team, and he's been the alpha, and he's commanding 7.8 targets a game. That's why you play Egbuka. Don't play him for micro splits that just like don't do a whole lot. Sorry, I keep taking Dak off because I don't think my brain wants to read the Dak stacks. Dak stacks, only 2 of them in the top 150. Dak with Rico Dowdle, Rachaad White, Puka Nacua, George Pickens, Ryan Flournoy makes it, Michael Mayer, Josh Jacobs, Dolphins D. So you're getting the Dak stack here. Rico becomes the bring back, fading Javonte. I like the game theory approach. The lineup itself, I don't know that Pickens and Flournoy both hit, but I guess this one, you're assuming that Flournoy takes production that would go to Jake Ferguson, most likely. Number 2 is Dak Prescott, Rico Dowdle, Rachaad White, George Pickens, Stephon Diggs, Ryan Flournoy, Tucker Kraft, Christian McCaffrey, Dolphins D. So Flournoy makes it again. He seems to be a nice little value in Dak stacks. I don't know why Tez Johnson was a value in Stafford stacks. Seems like an odd one, but you're getting value, guys, when you're kind of taking these expensive builds. Number 3 is Dak Prescott. Javonte makes this one. Rico Dowdle, so both RBs in the same game, making this one. George Pickens makes it. Ted McMillan, Michael Pittman, Tucker Kraft, Rachaad White, Saints D. Yeah, I mean, look, these Dak lineups, I think the ones that get leverage and Devontae are the most appealing to me. But the one where you get Rico in, you're getting in chalk, you're getting going back to a guy who failed pretty miserably last week in Pickens, and there's really no reason to think he should do it again. I think there's some merits to the Dak stacks. Drake May. Got Drake May, Rico Dowdle, Javonte Williams, George Pickens, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Michael Mayer, Josh Jacobs, Dolphins. So I guess Puka leverage. I don't know why Pickens is in this. Meh. Number 2, Drake May, Rico Dowdle, Rachaad White, JSN, Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, Michael Mayer, Josh Jacobs, Bucks D. I like the lineup around it, and it's just really a Drake May, Stephon Diggs single. Feels to me like Diggs' week was last week. Like, he clearly was angry at Buffalo. Like, I think that coincides with him really outproducing his normal target share. He didn't really increase the routes and snaps he played exponentially. But sure. I would go to this one more so, I think. Drake May, Josh Jacobs, Jalen Warren, JSN. Pickens makes it again. I don't know why Drake May and Pickens would be connected. Diggs, Hunter Henry, Tucker Kraft, Dolphins D. It's Kraft in the flex, feels whatever. But I like getting Henry instead of Diggs this week, or Henry in addition to Diggs. I just think that Diggs is not likely to hit that ceiling very often this year. Bryce Young. With ATN, this is a trick, but let's look up Bryce Young anyway, because I do like Bryce Young this week. I was too excited for the Bryce Young part. Bryce Young, Rico Dowdle, Javonte Williams, Puka Nacua, Ted McMillan, Juwan Jennings, Tommy Tremble, Josh Jacobs, Steelers D. That's a fun lineup. You're playing a lot of the chalk, but you are getting Tommy Tremble to decrease the ownership. Juwan Jennings, who won't be super chalky, but Sims seem to like him. Number 2 is a single stack with Bryce Young, Jalen Warren, Rachaad White, JSN, Ted McMillan, Juwan Jennings, Jake Ferguson is a bring back, Josh Jacobs, Saints D. Leaving a little money on the table at that one too, but getting some good chalk in, and one lesser owned RB who's got upside in Jalen Warren. And number 3 is Bryce Young, Kyron Williams, Javonte Williams, the Williams boys reunited. George Pickens, Ted McMillan, DK Metcalf, Tucker Kraft, Josh Jacobs, Dolphins. I don't know, DK Metcalf, I just don't feel like needs to be in here. Turn to the Mac. Double tight end seems viable. He's coming up more than I would have thought in the Sims. Not my preferred way to play, but frankly, with how much people are getting, just so much of the 3 RBs, one in the flex, I think playing something that's not an RB is just decent game theory. But RBs are the best plays in the slate, so that's the trade-off. Mac Jones lineups. We got Mac Jones, Rico Dowdle, Josh Jacobs. And after this one, if there's no more requests that I haven't hit, I'm going to do a hand build. I'll give you guys a handy before we go. Mac Jones, Rico Dowdle, Josh Jacobs, George Pickens, Ted McMillan, Juwan Jennings. The Juwan Jennings-Pickens combo is coming up a lot. Michael Mayer, Christian McCaffrey, Dolphins D. Number 2, Mac Jones, Rico Dowdle, Javonte again, Puka again, Stephon Diggs, Juwan Jennings, Cade Otton, Josh Jacobs, Dolphins D. Okay. Number 3, Mac Jones, Rico Dowdle, Rachaad White, Ted McMillan, Keenan Allen, Juwan Jennings, Jake Ferguson, McCaffrey, Saints D. All right, Juwan Jennings, man. I love Juwan Jennings. I hope he hits for the sake of my best ball shit, which can now desperately use him now that Chris Godwin's fucking hurt again. Though, signs of life from Joe Mixon this week. I haven't talked about it on stream. Didn't mention it in the Discord. But Joe Mixon could be back in a couple weeks, the GM said. So we're our injured boys. We're coming together. Well, let's give the handy here. Last one for us on the day. What do I want to put in first? I feel like choosing RB to me feels the easiest. McCaffrey to me just doesn't feel like a fade in this spot. I like Rico. I like Rachaad White's price tag. I like a lot of the RBs. I like Jonathan Taylor. I like Josh Jacobs. I like a lot of these plays. I think McCaffrey's still going to PPR scam his way to death. Competitive game script. McCaffrey's still a guy I want to get in. I'm going to put in Josh Jacobs with him. We know the Sim's going to like that. Fucking get out of here, stream spam. Get out of town. All right, so Jacobs and CMC to start here. We're losing some salary up top. We're gonna go to my boy Bryce here. He's cheap. He gives us some, or should I go Rattler? Rattler came up too much for the Sim. Let's make the Sim happy today. I feel like I butt heads against the Sim. I do think Bryce Young, a strong play for me this week, but let's keep Rico and we'll go with Rattler instead. And we'll go Rico in the flex. And then for Rattler, we can get some cheap receivers. We got Olave. He's a cheap boy. We like him. 5,100. That saves us some money. We know the Sim loves Juwan Jennings. Here you go, Sim. Here you go, little Sim. Eat that up. Eat up your Juwan Jennings. We'll pair. We know the Sim likes Juwan Johnson in a Rattler stack. So we'll go him at tight end. Do we do a bring back for New England? Do we go Diggs? Or do I skip Juwan Johnson, go Shaheed? It's going to leave too much money on the table, I think. Didn't do Hunter Henry as a bring back. Leaves us 5K for our defense. There are no 5K defenses. This is too much money left on the table. I'm going to sim it out. I like the style of lineup here. It's too much money for a non-showdown slate, but a Rattler double here. We got a little more unique by playing Shaheed and Olave as opposed to Juwan Johnson and Olave. We got to bring back in with Hunter Henry. All right, positive ROI. I'm going out on this. Fuck that. To get a 12% ROI on 1,300 left on the table on a main slate, that's not bad. Nobody's going to play this lineup, guy. I'm going to play this lineup. I might play it in the first down. I'm going to play this lineup. Rattler, Christian McCaffrey, Josh Jacobs, Chris Olave, Juwan Jennings, Rashid Shaheed, Hunter Henry, Rico Dowdle, Packers D. We could also upgrade Rico Dowdle to, whatever you want, basically. We could upgrade him to 7,100. Ashton Genty. Let's see how that sims, just out of curiosity. I think this is a nice team. Rattler double. Fuck, man. I can't believe they got me back on Rattler doubles. I feel like I've quit smoking. I quit fentanyl. I don't know. I quit something. And now it's here it is. Have to spend the Rattler doubles. That'll lose you money. But at least Justin Fields isn't on the slate. 32% ROI, 0.2% win rate. These aren't bad. Rattler doubles for the win, guys. But that's it. That's the final takes for the week. I will be on Stochastic today, 11:30 to 11:40 Eastern time is when that kicks off, so do check that out. Please do support the show, guys. Hit the like button, subscribe. Goes a long way for me here. Just one dude showing you my gambling as best I can. Hopefully as intelligently as I can, as challenging to your thought process as I can, and you can fade everything I say, but ultimately do the best to try to give you guys what I think will make you the most successful information-wise in a given week, and myself too, hopefully. Check out Stochastic, 15% off, link down below. All the data, all the cheap stuff, all the expensive stuff, the Sims tools, it's all 15% off. So please do check it out. Half the money you pay to them comes back to me. So it really does support the show. Solver, link down below as well, promo code SPLASH, and join the channel, join the Discord. It's only $5 to join, and it does support the show. You get my data sheets every week. You also get a premium video, which will be back next week. I know I couldn't hit it this week, but you get a lot of cool stuff. Great community we're building on the Discord as well. So please do join and be a part of it. And I'll see you guys again soon. Make sure to gamble responsibly, even though it is always money time on this channel. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at SplashPlayPod. Back again on Stochastic at 11:30. Tomorrow, back for the Monday Night Football slate, 12 p.m., the usual time for that one. So I'll see you guys then. Enjoy your days. Good luck. And go Spencer Rattler, go. Fuck me. Bye-bye.